it's so good to see you today. Are you coming in, Gage? You can come in. We took a little trip and we're excited to tell you all about it today. Well, we're just getting back from a week missions trip in Mexico. So we want to tell you all about it. I want to tell you my preconceptions about Christians on missions trips, but also what ended up being the most impactful parts of the trip and what we did down there.
And all the preconceptions that I had as a dad taking 4 kids out of the country through Mexico.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's back up like 5 months ago. So I had been telling Tom, I'm like, you know what? I just want to go on a vacation that is just like ridiculous. Like, let's just get our passports and go to Mexico and go to an all-inclusive resort and just like
get fat, just eat the whole time.
Just you know, be like whatever. And so I had looked.
That didn't appeal to me at all. First off, I was like, nah.
And so I had looked a little bit at resorts. I even talked to a travel agent at one point, and it just like was not coming together. And then we were at church one Sunday.
No, hold on. We went to a new church because Adeline had a friend through homeschool co-op who had went there. And that Sunday...
Yeah, the first Sunday we went to the new church. They announced a missions trip to Mexico, and I'm like, that's it. That's what it is that we were supposed to do. Now, I knew Tom's biggest concern would be safety. And so right after church, we talked to the couple that was leading it. They're like, we've been there multiple times. We bring our kids are going with on this trip. It is a very family safe, even though our church was putting it together, it was hosted by YWAM, our Youth with a Mission. So I'm thinking they're not going to send...
Still didn't make me feel good about it.
Right. I'm like, they're not going to send us anywhere unsafe, right? Obviously, Tom had concerns about it. But I was surprised that you actually went along with it pretty willingly.
Well, I was like, at first when you talked to them, I thought you were talking about just the 2 of us. Mm-hmm. Then you asked them about, what about kids for sleeping arrangements? I'm like, what? I thought
Okay, so I'm going to be completely honest. My main motivation was to bring the kids and for them to have an experience to realize how fortunate they are, right? So that actually was, I was hoping we could help out some people in the process, but my main motivation
was 4 people. You wanted to affect
was for our kids to not be so stinking spoiled.
Maybe 5?
Well, yeah, maybe 5. So we got our passports, we got the packing list, we did all the things. And let's just say this, there was never a moment on this trip that I felt unsafe.
Not a single moment. The only time I felt unsafe was when I got pulled over by the police yacht.
So we get into Mexico. Tom had volunteered to be one of the drivers for the vans. We actually had a group of 27 people. And we weren't a half hour into Mexico.
And who gets pulled over? This guy.
There's sirens behind us. We're like, oh my goodness. What happened that you got pulled
Apparently I ran a alto sign, not a stop sign, an alto sign.
Yeah.
That was very small and off to the side of the road. And the guy who was leading us into Mexico to where we were going, he didn't stop. Well, he may have tapped his brake.
Yeah.
And I didn't see a stop sign, so I just kept driving and then got pulled over.
Luckily the guy that was leading us was able to reason with the officer.
Because the cop was 100% Spanish. And I'm like, I'm sorry, man. I don't know what to say right now.
Yeah. So luckily that did not sidetrack us too long.
Nope.
So we got down to the base where we would be staying for the week and checked into our room. It was funny because the joke was like, oh, are we gonna check into the room and go swimming like we always do when you get to a hotel?
Nope.
It was not like that. No. But still nice accommodations. And the very next day we got to work building a house down there. And so again, my preconceptions of Christians going on missions trips is that it's like this Christian vacation you go on and come back and post pictures on Facebook to make you look like a really great person.
Which we're doing one better. We're posting a YouTube video.
Right. So I'll be very honest. Like, I went into this feeling a little bit like, what good can 27 Americans do in really 5 days when you have travel days on the ends? Like what could we actually do down there? That would be changed pretty radically as the week went on. So we got to work building the ministry house. It was like a really capable group. I mean, obviously Tom has experience building and doing that kind of stuff, and other guys on there too. So they were like flying through the build.
And so it ended up being a 22 foot by 22 foot, one level home, just open vaulted ceiling, 2 bedroom, 1 bath, all of it roughed in, no interior sheeting, electrical roughed in, like very basic construction, no insulation, 4 windows, like pretty like run of the mill. Like in the US we would look at it like a garden shed or like an oversized garden shed, essentially in the US what it would be.
Yeah. And and normally the homes that YWAM is building down there are for families. So families down there purchase their own land and then they apply to have one of these homes built for them, which is huge for them because it costs around $5,500 to $6,500 to build one of these. And what did they say, like the average income per day is down there?
$10 a day.
So they had talked about how for so many, it is a huge barrier to even have their own home. And they said one of the little boys like walked in and he's like, it's a mansion, right? Which is just so cool. This home was a little bit different. This was being built as a ministry home that would be used for families that need housing, but more specifically for women with children that just need extra help and extra housing. So that felt really meaningful. We got to meet the pastors that were in charge of it. They were just like super cool.
They were cool.
They were really cool. So that was awesome. And I think, like I said, going down there feeling like, what can we actually do in a week? When we talked to them, they're like, well, this is actually one of 50 homes that was built over the past year. And so I was like, okay, well, actually, when you start to look at it that way,
that
then
sounds like a lot of houses.
That does feel, I'm like, okay, I guess this is a little more meaningful. And then we also got to meet, we had to go to 3 other ministries down there. One is a gal who helps, she does an after school program for kids, and we actually got to do another project and paint her school building for her and spend some time with her and the kids. Another was an orphanage, also started by a gal. And then the third was a gal from Canada who went down and started a home for women that are coming out of horrific circumstances, for them to have a place to learn skills so that they could be successful in their lives. And that rocked me. Seeing these people that have completely dedicated their lives to this kind of work was probably the most humbling. Okay, I'm gonna start crying. So why don't you talk a little bit more about the impact of the trip? Or maybe even, I know many have asked, like, what did the kids think? Because that was why we headed down there.
I think the girls got it. Like, I think that it hit the girls, and the girls realized quite rapidly the different lifestyles. I don't necessarily know that the boys did. I think they see, like, that they didn't have, like, nice things or whatever. But I don't necessarily know that they fully, even right now, understand that, like, that's life.
Yeah, and they're 7 and 9, so I do think it was, they couldn't fully grasp everything.
And they, like, the boys helped with the house. The boys helped, like, pounding nails and painting and stuff like that. Cleaning up the debris and stuff. But I don't necessarily think that they fully understood the full picture of what that purpose was.
Yep. But like when we went to the school, they loved spending time with the kids there and everything. And, you know, as far as minimalism, I think anytime you're confronted with a people group that has much less, you feel like, oh my goodness, we're so fortunate, we have so much. You know, we spent a week living out of our suitcase in a very modest room, and we had everything, right? We shared 2 towels, like, didn't feel like a sacrifice at all. And so I think it's always, it feels like, yeah, we can get by living with much less than what we have. But I think even more than that, I felt impressed that I want to live with less. I want to manage less stuff so that I'm freed up and my time is freed up to invest in other people and to help other people, just like we were seeing these women and these men down there doing. And so that to me feels like the motivation behind continuing to simplify and declutter. It's not just so we have less stuff, but so our time can be freed up to, I don't know that we can find significance in life if we're not helping other people. I mean, one of the pastors that we talked to down there, he's like, I lived the American dream, you know, we made the 6-figure income. He's like, yeah, I'd been to Mexico before on vacation, right, to Cancun. And he was like, it wasn't until he came down 11 years ago and started doing, and he was a pastor before that, right? That's meaningful work, right? But it wasn't until he went down there and started ministering that he really felt content, and the work he was doing was purposeful. And so I know many would say, like, I would love to have that opportunity. I would love to take my own family on a missions trip like that, or even go myself. And I think for us, being able to do this just recently started 7 years ago when we did commit to simplifying our home, simplifying our lifestyle, and following Dave Ramsey to get out of debt. I think we're now starting to get to enjoy some of the fruits of that. And so my hope is that you don't think you're in any way disqualified from that, and that you too could do this, whether it's an international trip or just finding people around you right now to serve. Because Diana had shared the statistics a little while back. She said that people who volunteer weekly, their increase in happiness, it's like getting a $50,000 raise per year. That's huge. That's crazy. Right? Most of us think it's the more money, or if we would get that increase, that would make us happier. But there is something about helping other people that just fulfills us in a way that none of this stuff or money is ever going to. So
I think the thing that got to me the most was after we met so there were 3 guys who are going to be living in this house for a little while until a family moves in there. And so those guys worked with us building the house the whole week. Mm-hmm. And then, like, when they did the presenting the house to the ministry and then giving these guys the keys to the house, they locked the house anyway. And so he, when they gave him the keys, he got emotional. And then when he went to go in the house, it was like, he can't get in. So him having to use his keys to get into the house, I think felt like, whoa, like we actually have a house.
Yeah.
Like, and it felt really cool seeing the gratitude amongst all these people who we had been working with from what we look at as the simplest of things. But for them, they were just like blown away by having that.
Yeah. And so, I mean, our hope is that we can go back down again at some point and help some more.
The other thing that kind of stuck with me when I learned how much the house cost was like yes, is $5,000 to $6,000 a good amount of money? Yeah. But for a house, for like multiple people to improve their lives by living in a home, that's like
I was thinking of vehicles to sell that would cost $5,000.
I could sell vehicles right now to put up houses. Like that would just be like instant gratification and instantly improving people's lives by selling a toy.
Right.
And putting up some houses, like to change multiple generations, not just this one family, generations on generations. Like it's just kind of crazy.
Yeah. No, I
and I never left the country before, so I mean, I'd only seen what I had ever seen on YouTube or TV.
Yeah.
So to experience it in real life was pretty different.
Yeah, it definitely gives you a different perspective. So, and it just shows that we're all powerful. Like we all have the ability to change other people's lives. And I think that's what I want my kids to come away with. I think sometimes we get a little backwards where we're trying to build our kids' confidence through good grades and athletics, but I think real confidence comes from them knowing that they can impact people and that they can change other people's lives. And that's what I want them to have. So, all right,
you're gonna cry.
Let's wrap this up. We will put some details down below if you are looking for trips, you want to donate. We'll put the link below for Dorothy's house. If you just want to make a donation, I'm gonna cry again. If you want to make a donation to a gal that is changing lives, we'll put a link down below for that. All right, we'll be done for now, but we love you. We hope that you have a great weekend, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye-bye.